It was the twilight years of the 19th century. The North Sea Empire was at its peak, and the world was on the brink of war, yet again. And I found myself, for the first time in my short life, entirely alone. On that night I heard the voices of my mother and father twist into hellish, tortured screams as they failed to escape our family home. I was powerless to stop it. I had no known surviving family that could have taken me in. I may have been a nobleman, but I was not a pure breed, and so to some, no better than a common orphan. And yet, I was given three options: a decorated general, an industrialist, and a nobleman. Perhaps had I chosen differently, I would have lived a much different life compared to now. I chose the nobleman, Count Wilhelm Gravgard. That was a mistake. The Count had spent his family fortunes on a life of luxury, one he could no longer afford, and once he heard of my plight, took it as an opportunity to prolong this life. I was made to sign over the rights to my family's remaining wealth. What had once been the summer home of my family and myself had now become a place of decadence where Count Wilhelm could live the rest of his days in pleasure. I was made to be the servant in my own house. When the Count was angry about something, for some reason, I so easily became the target. I really tried to be a good kid. I honestly did. My one refuge was the library, and within its depths I found something strange. And it was then, surrounded by old books and dust, that it was the last time I ever felt alone, for the voices had found me. I would spend my nights doing as they asked. I was simply happy they wanted to talk to me at all. But I had been neglecting my duties. The beatings were much worse than usual, but through the pain I felt something distant calling to me. It was as if it asked for my permission. It was a simple question. Would you mind? Would you mind it if this man was dead? Would you mind opening the gates? Would you mind the dead walking the streets? Would you mind the abominations of that nameless city walking onto your land and taking it for themselves in the name of the only true gods this world has ever known? Would you care to serve the great old ones, and would you sacrifice this world to do so? And should I accept, I would never have to feel alone, ever again. And beyond that dark portal I saw the endless void and the gods that inhabit it, and after years of torment and abuse, I felt pure happiness. One should be careful when dealing with monsters that one doesn't become a monster oneself. And when you gaze long enough into the abyss gazes back. But the funny thing is, I'm perfectly fine with that. Oh, hello. Did you enjoy the flashback? It's been such a long time. Sometimes I wonder what happened to the good Count. That night was the last I ever saw of him, kicking and screaming as he was dragged into that empty void. I'm sure he must be gone by now. I feel a bit bad sometimes. Had he chosen a different path, I'm sure he would still be indulging himself into an early grave. I do appreciate him, you know, not for taking me in, but for showing me despair. For it was those years of torment, misery, and despair that led me to realizing one ultimate truth. Humanity is broken. We are pitiful creatures. While we may try our best and at times succeed, we do so by inevitably trampling on others. Ambition is but torture for those lesser fortunate. Every indulgence is a child that starves. Every battle, glorious it might be, is thousands dead. Every building, a testament only to its makers, as the men who built it did so by sacrificing their own bodies and time, which I might remind you, we all cursed with an ever-decreasing quantity of, and at the end of which we will all see that beautiful void which the dear Count was prematurely dragged into. Our very existence is but a fleeting one. But should it truly be that way? Scientists and mystic men have both pondered for eons about that lingering question. Should life be preserved in perpetuity? Do we have that right? Would it not only lead to further misery? What further damage and manipulations can the men in power do if they did not only live for one lifetime, but for countless, as it stands already? The elites look down upon the weak and use them as if they were mere machines, organic machines that do their bidding for the sake of mere survival. And so perpetual life, immortality, would only empower the already empowered. And for a working man who toils from day to night, dawn to evening, what pleasures would there be in an eternity of that? What right do we have to think of perpetual life when we have yet to make life good for those of us in bad positions? If we cannot lift the weakest of us, what right do we have to dream of immortality? Can we dare to? My dear friends, I may have come upon a conclusion to this predicament. Tonight I'll be telling you 3 stories, all with one theme. A familiar theme, and finally the conclusion, which I would be very happy if you would come to along with myself. And should you come to this conclusion along with myself, then may I request you to join me as we watch this world burn and build upon it a new one, free of suffering, of torment, and of mortality. My house is just around the corner. If you don't mind, my dear sirs and ladies, would you like to join me? And we might discuss this in further detail. I'm very happy to hear that. Well then, I'll lead the way. My dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my library. Please make yourselves at home. You might find at one point that it starts to rain, but don't worry, it's well insulated. I suppose I should take off my hat. It is inappropriate to wear a hat indoors, and I suppose I won't be needing this anymore. Don't mind the eye. There we are, much more comfortable. Now I might invite you, my dear company, please have a seat. Should you require anything during the reading, I would like to invite you to please let me know. Woof. Now before we might start, I suppose I should introduce myself. You and I haven't met before, have we? My name is Lucius J. Merryweather. It's nice to meet you. My friends call me Merry because I'm a very dapper lad. Shall we get started? And don't mind the cane. It's just in case. None of you are going to hurt me naturally. Just in case. We do have some unruly inhabitants of this house. Would you mind leaving? There we go. Sorry, you didn't see that. And it's nothing to worry about, really. They're perfectly friendly. I suppose we should have a seat together. There we go. Now, are you sitting comfortably, my ladies and gentlemen? If you are, then I shall begin the first story of many. This is Cthulhu. Say hello, Cthulhu. That's what Cthulhu sounds like. It's actually pronounced Kalala. Kalulu. Cthulhu Finnaken. Yeah, Cthulhu Finnaken. Would you like to hear me speak Lovecraft? Rather, sorry, Eldritch. Penglunui Mclnaf Cthulhu Relier Viknaken Fnaken. In his house at Relier, that Cthulhu waits dreaming. And Relier, of course, is our home. Do you guys know about Relier? Relier is the lost city. The nameless city. It's a lovely place, really. When Relier rises, the only portion of the city that emerges is a single monolith-crowned citadel in which Cthulhu is entombed. The human onlookers will be awed by the sheer immensity of the city and by the frightening suggestiveness of the gargantuan statues and bas-reliefs. The city is a panorama of vast angles and stone surfaces too great to belong to anything right and proper for this earth, and impious with horrible images and disturbing hieroglyphs, according to humans at least. The geometry of Relier is abnormal, non-Euclidean, and loathsomely redolent of spheres and dimensions apart from ours. I want to visit. Now, where were we? I can sit down too. This is comfy, and don't worry about my eye. It's just it's a contact lens. Look, if I close my eye, the contact lens goes away. Here he is. Say hello, everyone. Say hello to my Cthulhu plushie. No, why does Cthulhu plushie sound like a dog? I need to get a better impression of him. No, that makes him sound pathetic. Come on, I can think of something. No, that's still a dog, Mary. Come on. What does Cthulhu say? What does Cthulhu say? What does Cthulhu say? What does he say? What does he say? What does Cthulhu say? What does Cthulhu say? No, that's a Murloc from World of Warcraft, Mary. Come on. You gotta be able to get a better one. Okay, so apparently I can't come up with a good Cthulhu impression. It's impossible for me. I apologize to my Lord and Savior Cthulhu, but we shall figure things out. Yes. Why, hello there. I can't do it. This is my deep voice. The clowns at the top of society will be slaughtered by our hand, and we will bring upon a new world shaped by us and shaped by gods we can interact with and worship and walk amongst. The pigs in charge of society have abandoned anyone's pleasure but themselves, and we shall teach them a lesson when we drag them from their castles and their mansions and their wealth and pleasure and indulgences, and we shall show them true oblivion as we rise up onto the point of godhood. Yes, God thrust Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden not because they ate from the tree of knowledge, but because of the potential that they could become like God and eat from the tree of eternal life. And we, my dear brothers and sisters, we will eat from that tree in defiance. We will walk amongst the gods, not the fictional gods which man have created, but the true gods, the real gods, the cosmic gods of the empty void above us. The sea of stars will be our playground, and I will be there with you, for all of it. As we drag the pigs from their homes, the pigs from their castles, where they fill themselves with substances and food and drink, and we will destroy everything they stand for. We will burn it to the ground, and once we have done so, we will build a new world where no man must fear, and where no man must starve, and where no man need fear death or decrepity. We will evade oblivion and everyone who's ever treated anyone badly and use their power against them. Every man who has ever abused his authority will end up in that endless void, and we will live on in perpetuity for as long as Asathoth's dream lasts. Best book club, best book club, best book club. Yeah! Can we get a popcorn machine in here? Of course we can. Of course we can. What's the point if you can't have a popcorn machine?